Okay, so today we're going to talk about similar polygons. So we are going to identify and apply similar polygons. In this lesson, I want to define what similar polygons are. And in this table, it says that two polygons are similar polygons if corresponding angles are congruent and the lengths of corresponding sides are proportional. So in this polygon, A and G are corresponding and congruent. B and H are corresponding and congruent. C and I are corresponding and congruent. D and J are corresponding and congruent. The lengths of the corresponding sides are proportional means that the proportion, this proportion I wrote out, means the ratios of corresponding sides are equivalent. So AB over GH is equivalent to BC over HI, CD over IJ, and AD over GJ. So corresponding sides are proportional, meaning corresponding sides written as a ratio are equivalent. So in example 1, we are going to identify the pairs of congruent angles, and we're going to write an extended proportion for the ratios of the corresponding sides, which is kind of a mouthful. But in part A, the corresponding angles that are congruent, look at your similarity statement, we call it up here. Angle M comes first, angle S comes first. So they are congruent. Angle N is congruent to angle R. Angle P is congruent to angle T. So those angles are congruent. The extended proportion for corresponding sides, this part is you're going to have to be a little bit more intentional with how you write things. So the side MN, the ratio of MN to SR, those are corresponding sides. Their ratio has to be equivalent to the ratio of NP to RT, okay? Because those are corresponding sides, same proportion. Also, MP over ST. So that is the extended proportion for the ratios of the corresponding sides. Now in the guided practice, I realized I made a mistake. This has 5 vertices. It's HIJKL. It really should be HJKL. Sorry about that. So in the guided practice, you're actually comparing 2 quadrilaterals instead of 2 triangles. So for part A and part B, you're going to need 4 pairs of angles for part A, 4 ratios of sides for part B. So I'll give you a few seconds to pause the video, work through this, check your answers before moving on to example 2. Okay, so for number 1 here, it's just matching up the corresponding angles and the corresponding sides. The big difference between this and congruence is that congruent shapes were the same size and the same shape. Similar shapes are the same shape, but they're not the same size. So we still have corresponding angles, corresponding sides. Corresponding angles are still congruent. Corresponding sides are proportional, which means the ratios of the corresponding sides are equivalent. So in example 2, I ask you to determine if 2 polygons are similar. So the first thing I'm going to look at for these polygons to be similar are the angles congruent? Are the corresponding angles congruent? J is congruent to T. That's given here. They're marked congruent. Okay? K is congruent to U. They're both 90-degree angles. L is congruent to V. And M is congruent to W. So all corresponding angles are congruent. That's one thing we want to identify. Corresponding angles are congruent. Now we have to see if corresponding sides are proportional. So I'm going to just look at JK and TU. JK over TU. JK is 12, TU is 6. The ratio of those corresponding sides. And then I'll look at KL and UV. KL and UV, 24 over 16. Then LM, VW. LM and VW, 24 over 14. And then JM, TW, 6 over 6. And we should be able to tell by now, but these sides, these corresponding sides, are not the same ratio. They're not proportional because these simplify to be 2 over 1. Can divide both of these by 8, 3 over 2. Divide both of these by 2, 12 over 7, and 1 over 1. So we would say not similar. Sides aren't proportional. That's how I'd say these aren't similar. Angles are congruent, but sides are not proportional. Moving ahead, guided practice. I want you guys to just look at these two rectangles and decide if the sides are proportional. We know all four angles are 90 degrees. So are the sides proportional? I'll give you a second to pause the video. Determine if those sides are proportional. Then resume the video when you're ready to move on.